Okay, it looks like we're going. Looks like it's going. Oh, I gotta change the thumbnail. Hold on. Alright, okay, I think we're ready. So hello everyone, welcome to the first live stream for the Project Gladiator YouTube channel. I'm of course covering what I covered in the daily forecast, the slight risk. Um, it appears to be, remember how I was uncertain if it was going to be isolated or uh, organized threat. It looks like it's going to be isolated. It's probably going to be more organized by tomorrow, especially in that line that you saw down here earlier on the models. But what I'm currently focusing on right now is there is this tornado warning heading into Snyder. There's it's pretty far away from any radar site, so it may not be as clear to see. So they don't really want to take many chances with storms like this, probably because it's so far away from the radar site. But if we look at the velocity for this system, um, I'm not really sure actually. It doesn't appear to be rotating a whole lot. Maybe right here, but it's so far away I can't really tell. I mean, the tornado warning expires in 29 minutes, but it's moving in towards Snyder. So if there is potentially rotation or a tornado on the ground, then it's moving in a populated area. But I don't really see much of a hook at all. So that tornado warning might expire soon. But my main concern right now is this supercell that is south of Abilene, Texas. Um, very prominent hook here. You can see the very prominent hook, a very prominent inflow notch too. Um, it earlier it did look like it was developing a little bit of a V notch, but that has gone away. Um, but if we look at the velocities for this system, you see that they're pretty strong actually. They're not really that tight, but they're pretty strong. As for correlation coefficient, there's possibly a little bit of something right there, but more than likely there's not really much of anything on correlation coefficient. It's probably not really on the ground at all in terms of it actually being on the ground. But the fact that this hook is so like the precipitation, the reflectivity is indicated to be extremely high as it is, could indicate that a little bit of the hail from the hail core is being whipped by winds into the hook of the storm. Um, or it could be heavy precipitation. If that is a lot of heavy precipitation mixed with large hail being whipped into the hail core, could mean that if there is going to be a tornado that is produced, it's likely to be pretty rain wrapped. I doubt there is a tornado on the ground though, due to the lack of evidence from the correlation coefficient. But it could be, and I'm pretty surprised actually. I'm a little bit surprised that they haven't warned this. They haven't issued a tornado warning for this yet, but they might soon, because that's a really prominent hook. There are you are able to see the locations of different storm chasers around the map, but I don't know if I'm allowed to show their streams because it could be copyrighted. and I don't want to risk a copyright strike on this channel yet. But I'll continue to cover this isolated supercell south of Abilene, Texas, uh, going southeast. You see that the hook is kind of stayed the same kind of. It looks to be maybe a little bit more prominent than it was back here. Um, it looks to be wrapping up a lot more, but again, if there is a tornado to be produced, the high reflectivity is indicating that it's probably going to be a rain-wrapped one and a very dangerous one. Plus the fact that it's going into nighttime for central Texas, it's getting dark. Um, plus the potential for the tornado to be rain wrapped if it does develop a tornado is that's very dangerous. We got a new radar update though. The hook does look like it is becoming a lot more of a hook instead of a blob that's been extended out from the storm. Plus the inflow looks to be a little bit more prominent. As for the velocities, they look like they're doing better for themselves, but that's not really good. This is a strong away motion plus a strong forward motion toward the radar site. The radar site being over here, um, making for some like it looks like it's broad rotation. It doesn't look very tight yet, but it could tighten up earlier. Before the live stream, as I was going over this, it did look like it was more. It did look like it was a lot more tight. There were some, not a lot more tight as in like overall, but there were some radar updates or some radar frames that did look like they were much tighter than others as for the rotation. But as for now, there's not really much of a correlation coefficient. But we can check again with the new radar update. It still doesn't look like much. A lot of this could be hail that's whipped from here, but it definitely could be something. But I doubt it. I honestly doubt it because it's not one central circle. It's all over the hook. So I'll continue to cover this storm as it moves southeastern. Um, as for the direction it's going and what time you're expected to see it go different places, uh, you can expect this system, which is going southeast. It's probably not going to be going very far very quickly. The wind speed is around 60 miles per hour, but towards Santa Ana and Coleman, 60 miles per hour at least. Hold on, let me double check that because that's what it was saying earlier. It's not shown anymore. It was earlier though. Yeah, tennis ball sized tail with 60 miles per hour winds. So yeah, okay. Tennis ball sized tail going mostly this direction, 60 miles per hour. Okay, expected in okay, it's expected to get into Valera. I'm not sure where that is on the map. Valera right here by 26 minutes. Coleman by 28 minutes. Santa Ana by 37 minutes. And Shields by 39 minutes. Uh, it's so it is this moves southeast if it continues with intensity as it is. Expect very large hail for areas around Coleman and Santa Ana. That's probably where the hail core is most likely going to hit than the hook of the tornado, but the hook of the supercell or the tornado that could potentially develop with it. But again, it could change direction. Um, But I suggest that with this, okay, it looks like it's getting tighter throughout the hook. The rotation definitely looks like it's starting to increase in intensity. Um, the fact that it's getting dark, dark outside, plus this, the potential for it to be rain wrapped if it develops any type of tornado at all. If you are in the cruise area, if you're in the cruise area or Glen Cove area, I suggest you're tuning into the National Weather Service, um, and potentially looking for waiting or looking for any future tornado warnings that may be issued here in a few minutes. I'm honestly a little bit surprised that they haven't issued a tornado warning for this yet, because I mean, the velocity does look like it's starting to. It's been intensifying this entire time. Plus the strong, very prominent hook on the southeastern side or southwestern side of the supercell going southeast. It's a little surprising to me that they haven't issued a tornado warning for this yet, but they did for this, and plus the fact that this doesn't really it does. Okay, the hook could be, this could be a little bit of the hook here for this tornado warning here, um, plus the inflow here, um, but when I looked at it earlier I couldn't really see much. Okay, now I see a lot here. uh, where's the radar site? The radar site's right here. Okay, uh, you can see that strong, that this could be really, really strong rotation here through the hook here. If you look, if it's pretty much in Brand already. It's about to enter Brand and continue through this, through the northern side of Snyder. If it continues like this, it's going into a heavily populated area. If you lived in Brand or or Snyder or any of the places around this, throughout here. I'm okay. How fast is this moving? This is moving southeast at 30 miles per hour. Um, Brand through Snyder, 30 miles per hour. Calculated. Brand 6 minutes. Snyder 18 minutes. You have a very short amount of time, very limited amount of time. Very small amount of time to get to your shelter and activate your tornado safety plan. You need to do that if you live in Brand or Snyder. This potential tornado could be moving into heavily populated areas of northern Snyder and Brand. If you live in those areas, go down to activate your tornado emergency plan. If you have a basement, go into the basement. Uh, and if you don't have a basement, go into the innermost room of your house, away from windows, preferably a closet that's towards the center of your house. Um, but this is moving into heavily populated areas. If it persists like this, uh, let's look at the correlation coefficient. The correlation coefficient, this right here, this could be a drop in correlation coefficient right here. There could be a tornado on the ground associated with this storm. The correlation coefficient, reflectivity, and velocity, the velocity signatures, could really be signifying a tornado on the ground moving into heavily populated areas of northern Snyder and Brand. Again, get into the innermost area of your house and stay away from windows. If you have a basement, go into the basement because this is moving into heavily populated areas. You have very limited amount of time. Um, if we check it again, um, Brand 5 minutes, Snyder 17 minutes. If you live in these areas, you are running out of time. Please go down to the basement or an interior room in your house. And if you have a weather radio, bring it with you so you can tune into the National Weather Service for any updates on this storm as it moves into northern Snyder and Brand. And make sure you be safe, because that's a it looks like everything is all three things is it's looking like there's probably a tornado on the ground for this system as it's moving into these heavily populated areas, at least as far as I can see. But again, I'm not a trained meteorologist. If you should know that if you've been watching my uh, uh, um, my weather forecast. But again, this storm right here, this storm down here, okay, it looks like it's developing possibly a little bit more of a prominent and stronger hook. I'm not really sure though. The inflow notch seems to be wrapping around a little bit through here. This looks like to be the extent of the inflow notch, plus the hook coming this way, um, and the now very prominent RFD coming around the back end of that hook and moving into Cruise and towards Glen Cove. If we look at the velocities, uh, okay, if you look at the velocities, this could be strong inflow going into the hook here, going into the inflow notch, plus a strong broad rotation in that area. As for correlation coefficient, there doesn't really seem to be a lot more. But again, it's this area right here is most likely the inflow jet, plus the RFD wrapping around the backside, and the hook forming in here. If there's going to be a tornado, it's going to be in there, and if there is a tornado, it's going to be moving into Cruise and Glen Cove. It's getting really close to Cruise. It's gonna barely pass it on the northern side, but 60 miles per hour, I think it was. Um, it's not wanting to do it. Hold on, give me a second. Okay. It doesn't. It. Amazing. Come on, Radar Omega. I believe in you. Okay. Valora. 21 minutes. Cruise. It. If it's going towards Cruise, which it could turn directions and go that direction, I don't know why it's doing this. I do not know why it's doing this, but it's going to. It right now. It's passing through some suburbs and going into what could possibly be a populated area right here. This could be a rest stop along the highway with restaurants and hotels. And this is moving directly towards it, towards the northern end. But if you're anywhere in that, even by a few miles, if you're anywhere in this path, even by a few miles, there you could have the potential for, you could if there's gonna be a tornado, it looks like this supercell looks like overall it looks like it's slow. It looks like it's developing a tornado slowly on this supercell in particular. Um, as for the tornado warning in Snyder, it looks like it is expired now. Um, it doesn't look as prominent as it was before, but I really can't tell because it's so far away from the radar site. But I'm going to be shifting my focus mostly on this supercell in particular because it looks like it has a developing tornado in progress with this, again, very prominent hook and very prominent inflow jet and a strong RFD wrapping around the back. I'll keep you posted on this tornado, on this possibly developing tornado with its rotation, which sort of, hold on. I can't tell if the rotation looks to be weakening a little bit. Uh, it might not be. It looks to me to be about the same intensity, but I mean, I feel like this could be tornado warned any second now, because of the strong hook, strong inflow jet, and very strong and prominent RFD along the backside of the hook. Plus what looks like to be a large bulb here at the very end of the hook, really bringing in a lot of the like prominence to it. And now it just looks like it's starting to be absorbed back into the storm. But you can still see the inflow jet here, an RFD that looks like it's starting to collapse. But you can still see the hook here. Um, but as for the velocity, it doesn't look like it has updated yet. But I'll keep you posted on this storm as it continues towards Cruz and Glen Cove. Okay, as this hook possibly gets reabsorbed back into the storm, could be shutting off that rotation. But then you can also see this here, this thing, this protruding line protruding out from the southern part of the storm. If this gets reabsorbed back into the storm and stops rotating, this might be its predecessor. This might become the next hook and start rotating again, carrying along the potential for tornadoes and like very, very large hail, potentially tennis ball or larger um, sizes of hail as this continues towards Glen Cove and possibly tracking all the way to Coleman. Okay, or for the new radar update, it looks like that protruding line has also been absorbed back into the storm. But then you can also see the hook isn't quite gone yet. You can still see a little bit of the inflow jet here and the RFD around the back punching through here. I'm not sure why this is here though. It could mean that the RFD is not as strong, it's not able to get through this. It's just stopping here because of all this heavy precipitation being wrapped around the backside. But then you can also see the what could still be inflow here, and the potential for the what could possibly be a hook still in this area, um, as it continues eastward. As for the rotation, though, it looks like it's starting to die off a little bit. Yeah, it looks like it's starting to die off and not be as intense anymore, but it's still rotating. It could strengthen back up and could potentially bring the potential for a could potentially bring the potential for a tornado as it continues. Let's take a look at these other storms that are around the area. Um, like these that are in Oklahoma City. See a line of intense. You see a line of intense uh, precipitation and some hail mixed in with it. Um, Plus all this embedded precipitation going through northern Oklahoma, all throughout here. Uh, this is not really. This up here is not really as. This isn't really up here isn't really as much of a tornado threat as the rest of the systems, like down through central Texas. Central Texas is where we're gonna see a lot of the tornado threat. Up here, we may not get all that much of a tornado threat. Let's look at these. Look at some of these other storms. Um, you can see large hail on this one. The with which this could be its own isolated one from this, but it could be embedded with it. Uh, it looks like it's just barely hanging on by a thread here. It could be its own isolated, or it could break off and become its own isolated supercell. But as for velocity, it's not really doing much. It's not really rotating. What did catch my eye was this thing right here. That could be nothing, but it could be a developing hook on the southeastern side, but it could also not be. It all depends. Okay, so there's this. There's these things. There's strong, not strong, but large hail throughout this, and then this here. What's catching my eye here on this storm in particular is the what could be inflow here, and what could be a hook through here with very strong hail or large hail in towards the end of it. As for velocity, that could be a developing tornado in there. That could be possibly a tornado warning in the future with this particular storm. Let me show you the velocity again, the rotation. Our radar site is over here, but you can see uh, like a strong rotation in this area, uh, in that area in particular, around the what is really being seen as the hook, really, or this, yeah. Um, yeah, okay, this could possibly be a hook. It looks like it's a hook, and then plus the inflow here and the RFD around the back. Um, could potentially be a tornado, developing tornado in progress, but it could also not be. But it definitely has the. It looks like it has the potential. It looks like it might be trying to develop a. It looks like it might be trying to develop. Okay, so I think my main two focuses are going to be on my main two focuses are probably going to be on this cell in particular and this cell down here. We did get a radar update um, on this cell. Still see what could be an inflow jet, and then RFD around the back with the hook in the center here. And as for the velocities, this could still be rotation, stronger rotation than what we're seeing down here. It looks like it could be trying to develop a tornado through that supercell, I think those are, I think those two systems are probably going to be my main focus, because they look like they have the stronger tornado potential out of any of these other storms, but they all could try producing tornadoes. They could all have the potential to produce tornadoes, but it's just these in particular that look like they're actually trying to produce tornadoes actively. Okay, that one's out of service, but we have this one. We have this storm here, this isolated storm. Isolated, could be very large hail in that center there. And what direction is it going? All that is going directly into Brenham, Texas, and it's currently moving through what looks like suburbs. So if you live in Brenham, it looks like it's time to get indoors. This could potentially be large hail, on very large hail on its way directly for Brenham. Um, like that is, if you're out, you do not want to be caught outside as this moves into Brenham. There could be some large hail damage with this storm in particular as it moves into Brenham. You do not want to be caught outside in that system. Um, let's see if we can look at it from another angle. It's not really as clear. Yeah, from this angle too, you can see that there is rotation throughout there. This is a rotating supercell, and this is inflow. This is the RFD, and this is the hook coming out of the supercell. It's trying to produce a tornado, but it also looks like it's weakening more at the same time. But the reflectivity on this throughout the hook here, it is a looks like it's a lot more. It looks like there's a lot more reflectivity throughout the hook. If it tries to produce a tornado, and it does produce a tornado, it's likely to be rain wrapped, or like just wrapped in rain because of the high reflectivity around the hook. And then plus the fact that it's getting nighttime will make it very hard to see the tornado. If it tries and does produce a tornado, then it will make it really hard to see it and chase it because of the fact that it's high reflectivity, likely to possibly be rain wrapped, and the overall darkness of the night. Those two combined do not make a pretty. They do not make a pretty combination. As for the system back up in here, it looks like the inflow is not as prominent anymore. There might still be a little bit though. Probably not though. It looks like the hook has been absorbed back into the storm and isn't as prominent anymore. And looks like it doesn't All right, that's amazing. I think I have been muted this entire time. Uh, okay. Okay, sorry for that, but okay. What I've been saying the past few minutes that you couldn't hear me was this rotation. It's prominent rotation here. It's tighten. It looks like it's tightening up compared to uh, the other radar frames that we've been seeing earlier. And then wrapping up. Okay, it was just tornado warned as expected. If this thing produces a tornado, which it very could likely might. It's likely going to be very dangerous to chase, and likely to be very rain wrapped um, along the hook here, because of the very strong reflectivity throughout the hook. Um, and then down here, uh, it it looked like that it looked like it wasn't really it looked like it was starting to decrease in severity and how much it was actually planning on actually producing a tornado, and it looked like the hook was in rotation was starting to decrease, but now there is it looks like it's starting it looks like it shed off that previous rotation here, and is forming another one in another inflow notch, the uninterrupted RFD this time, uh, potentially to maybe bring it looks like it's still trying to create a tornado. Correlation coefficient isn't really showing much as in terms for that system down there in particular. Should probably switch radar sites. And you see strong precipitation or hail along the backside. This is likely very large hail. Um, let's see what this has to say. Yeah, tornado and golf ball sized hail. Radar indicated rotation. Okay, this is moving. This tornado is moving into Dickens, and continuing southeastward into what will be a rural area, most likely. Actually, no. This looks like there are some suburbs throughout here, but this could be rural area. It could be suburbs. I'm not sure. It looks like it's more so suburbs. Um, but as this continues, if this goes towards Dickens, which it looks like it is, if you live in Dickens, make sure you activate your. This is about time to activate your tornado safety plan. This is a dangerous situation. Very rain wrapped. The possibility for a very rain wrapped tornado if it does produce a tornado. As for correlation coefficient, okay, there is what could be a drop right here, correlation coefficient, indicating that there could be a tornado on the ground. If there is a tornado on the ground, it is very likely to be very rain wrapped, and very dangerous to chase because of how rain wrapped it is, plus the darkness because it's nighttime. It's making it very dangerous to chase this system in particular. Um, I mean, we're checking off all the boxes here. We have correlation coefficient drop, or possibly very tight rotation in this area here, and a very what it could clearly be a hook here. You can see the inflow jet here. you see the inflow jet, or what could be a hook, or nope, you can see the hook. You can see the hook right here. Uh, this is likely inflow. This is likely an inflow jet, and this is likely a hook attached to the storm. But then there's also this down here, um, which everything looks like it's mostly up here. But then there's also the possible correlation coefficient drop. If this is moving pretty much directly towards Dickens, it's gonna probably pass through the south and probably nearly miss it toward to the south. But if there's houses along here, which there might be, if you live in this area, then make sure you activate your tornado safety plan. And go to a safe location in your house. If you have a basement, go there, because this is a dangerous situation. If this is a very rain-wrapped, potentially very rain-wrapped tornado uh, throughout this area here, moving towards what could be, it could shift and go towards Dickens, but it might not. It could probably shift maybe a little bit northward and continue southeast, and maybe clip a little bit of the southern side of Dickens. Who knows? But there could also be houses along here. Along here, there might be houses, but I'm not sure. But if there are, then uh, that's not good at all, because this is a more than likely a very rain-wrapped tornado and a very dangerous situation. By the time this tornado warning expires, I'm running out of time. I've kind of reached my time limit. I may not be able to continue streaming, but I suggest switching and tuning in to a different uh, meteorology channel that's covering the same thing as I am. But yeah, this is still a dangerous situation, a very dangerous tornado, if there is one at all. Which there very could likely be. I mean, the correlation coefficient drop that was right there is no longer there. If it was a correlation coefficient drop at all, but there could be a little bit down here, or it could be in here, but that could also be inflow. But it all depends. But if it does produce a tornado, then it's likely to be very, very rain wrapped again, and very, very dangerous. And it's likely to. I'm expecting it to pass between Dickens and 836 down here, the highway down here, um, and then continue through mainly rural areas. And then it's probably not going to continue into the later. It's probably not going to continue much later. If we look at velocity, okay, maybe I stand corrected, but you can. There's still that tight rotation here in this area in particular. But yeah, this could. I'm still unsure if this is inflow or not. It could be, but then I'm unsure of what the hook is too. I'm thinking this right here is the hook. It could be various different things though, but all I know is that there's uh, possibly a very rain-wrapped tornado within there. check in on the system that's down here. I think I should start maybe be using this radar site now. It seems to be a little bit closer, but I'm not really sure. I could probably check. Coleman. I want this one. It's making me use this radar site. It's moving to the south of Coleman. It's likely to, if it's likely to continue this direction. It's I don't think it's gonna hit Valora. I don't. It could though. It could shift more. It could shift this direction and possibly do some damage to the southern side of Valora. But overall, I don't really think it's going to hit Valora. Um, but again, it is for the rotation here. It doesn't really look like it's all that tight. Um, doesn't look all that prominent. But there is rotation. It could tighten up very very soon, and bring the stronger potential for tornadoes. With this system, we've seen this system track pretty long time with the hook and the rotation with it. It's been tracking since it was I think uh, where it's I think I remember it being over here, and it's gone all this way with a hook attached to it and pretty prominent rotation with it. When you see that it looks like it's doing the same thing again, where it develops this, and I think that blocks the RFD from continuing underneath, and starts to weaken the hook and causes it to become reabsorbed into the storm. At least that's my guess. But then you can also see inflow here, and a hook. See the hook here, and then this little tail thing here, with the RFD probably being blocked. But if it's not, it's going through here and just going that way. So yeah. But I think my main concern right now is this. But yeah. Okay, so you can still see uh, where the rotation is more prominent through here, which isn't good at all, because uh, that would mean it's going pretty much directly towards Dickens, towards the south end of Dickens. If you live in Dickens, then I suggest likely activating your tornado safety plan, moving into the interior most interior room of your house, or a basement if you have one. Stay away from windows, and if you have a radio with you, weather radio with you, make sure to take that with you and tune into the National Weather Service for updates on this system, because this could likely go into a heavily populated area. Again, very strong rotation in here. Not very strong, but pretty prominent rotation in there, which could tighten up more. But then you can also see a strong inflow here, and a hook coming out over here, and then the RFD. There is strong rotation, or what's being depicted in here, but then there's also the hook here. So if there's going to be a tornado, it's probably going to be somewhere in there. At least that's my guess. And that is moving towards the southern side of Dickens. And you see inflow here, and the hook continuing with a new radar update. And the tornado warning has been extended. Let's check back up on this system down here. Where is the radar? Sorry, it's all the way over here. Actually, no, there's a closer one. It's right here. Okay, it looks like it's doing the same thing again. This little tail end thing looks like it's kind of blocking off the RFD here. causing the hook to become more absorbed into the storm. And it looks like the rotation is starting to diminish. Looks like this is becoming weaker, and just overall more broad and just slowing down. So then plus the hook uh, becoming a lot more embedded with the system and kind of slowing down. This is all of this is most likely inflow, part of the inflow jet. I don't think that's a correlation coefficient drop at all. It's most likely just inflow. But as this continues, I mean, this is really seen. I've seen this track with a hook in pretty prominent rotation this entire way so far. It could spin back up again like it has done the past 2 times and continue with its rampage. But then also this over here. Um, if there's a tornado on the ground, it is likely past Dickens, and it's likely to be in here. There could be a little bit of damage towards the south end of the southern part of. If there's a tornado on the ground, there could be. It would likely do probably a tiny bit of damage towards any businesses that may be along here, if there are any. And possibly a little bit of damage to the very southern part of town, but it looks like Dickens has really dodged a bullet, even though I don't really see much of a correlation coefficient drop. This could be one. It probably not, though. It's more likely to be contamination than anything, but you can still see the inflow jet here and the RFD plus the hook, and then the rotation that you saw earlier. At least I think I showed you the rotation just then. Okay, I didn't, but now you can see this here, very strong, very tight. This is very, very tight rotation now. This is very tight rotation. All this is rotating. Uh, it just it okay. It likely hit anything that is in here. There could be houses all throughout here that could have been hit um, towards, and then also the southern end of Dickens here. Plus, but there, I think they really dodged a bullet here because this would have been terrible if this. It was probably going to be really, really bad if this tornado was actually on the ground, but I don't think it is, even though the rotation seems to be tightening up. But it's good that it's tightening up now and not later, because now it's mostly going to track through rural areas and not really see much of a populated area for a while, and it's most likely not going to hit here. It's most likely going to continue this direction. It's most likely going to continue like all this way, all this direction, all this general direction all the way southeast. And I don't think it's gonna do much to this to J10. I think J10's gonna be missed. But I think I just got a new radar update. It's now really tightening up towards the southern end of the town. Uh, there could be a little bit left to go, though. There could be a tornado. If there's going to be a tornado, it's likely to form in somewhere in this area here, where there's or somewhere in this area here. Where's the? Okay, I can do this better. Give me a moment. Is likely to develop somewhere along here, or even somewhere in here, because this is the tightest rotation. That's it's good that this is or tightening up when it is now and not earlier, when it was heading towards Dickens and towards the rural, or not rural, but possible suburbs in here. I'm not sure if there are suburbs, but there could be. But again, inflow here, RFD here, hook here, um, and then very strong rotation in here. It's again, I'm glad it's intensifying now and not earlier. You can still see intense inflow, not really as intense as what we were seeing earlier, but still pretty intense inflow on the correlation coefficient in the hook here. Still no correlation coefficient drop, which is good. But if there is one, it's going to track through rural areas from here on out, most likely. And Dickens really dodged a bullet if this chooses to continue the way it is. Okay, um, it looks like they have extended the tornado warning for the tornado in Dickens. Let's take a look at the correlation coefficients. Still not really much. Not sure what this is. Probably not a coefficient drop because a lot of what we're seeing, this inflow here, if there's going to be a tornado, it's probably going to be in here, not somewhere down there. If we look at velocity again, you see it's really tightening up now. It is really starting to tighten up and get really intense in this area. Uh, if we're going to see a tornado again, it's going to be in this area. But as I've said earlier, because of this intense reflectivity, and with the new radar update now, and the strong band of intense, it, what could be very large hail, pretty much all along the inflow jet here. It's likely to cause the tornado, if it produces a tornado, to be very rain wrapped and very dangerous to chase. So keep that in mind. And I am checking a little bit here and there on radar scope, and it looks just as bad. I'm getting tired. I'm most likely going to end the stream after these tornado warnings expire, or by the time this tornado gets into rural areas without the threat of really hitting anything, just tracking along rural areas. But if this does choose to enter another uh, populated area, then it's most likely going to be very bad due to the fact that it is uh, probably going to be very rain wrapped. Okay. There's not really more updates. I guess we could check on this storm down here. Oh wow. Okay. Um, Now more than ever, it is probably going to have the highest potential to produce a tornado. With this supercell, uh, it okay. The rotation is still not really very strong. It could also be like that because it's so far away from the radar site. But then again, because of how the hook is so prominent, it could be um, it could just not be very strong rotation, but it could be because of how far away from the radar side it is. But this looks like a very prominent hook. There's very prominent inflow and very strong inflow, and then the RFD here, uh, the hook, and then all this hail being dragged into here. Again, this tornado is it looks like it's trying to develop. Um, Earlier, it wasn't really trying to develop. Really, it looked like it was just rotating, and now it actually looks like it's really trying to do something here. And this okay, new radar update. And still see it, still see the inflow, then the RFD, and the hooking around. Again, I'm still surprised that they have not issued any tornado warnings whatsoever at all for this supercell in particular. It's probably had some pretty strong rotation at times, and very prominent hooks, and it feels like they kind of ignored it, but I mean, they're issuing severe thunderstorm warnings. I'm not sure. There could be something behind it. Again, I'm not a trained meteorologist, so there could be something behind it that I don't know. But it still surprises me. Okay, hold on a moment. Okay, so we can see how there is rotation along the back edge of that of the supercell, but then you can also see how the inflow is pushing inward. It's also pushing wind forward, eastward, and that's likely to cause a um, very strong gust front along this boundary here, probably into Coleman, and as this continues southeastward, probably probably going to bring a stronger gust front, strong gusts of winds along this boundary because of this strong inflow and just this bow shape, um, likely to bring a strong gust front, as well as the very large hail that we're seeing throughout here, especially in the southern end, where in the direction that it's going. Strong gust front here is likely because of this strong inflow, and then a gust front is expected to continue as the system continues eastward. Uh, Now it's dying down, but I say that because I didn't notice it earlier, but you can see in the models, or not models, but the past radar frames where there's intense hail with a very prominent bow line, and I missed that. And there was likely very strong gusts of wind along that boundary, and now the hook that was probably gonna produce uh, it could, not probably, but could bring the potential to produce a tornado is being absorbed. It looks like it's being absorbed back into the system. So I'm going to move back over here. Okay, it maybe the same thing applies for this too. There could be a strong inflow here. This could be strong inflow with a hook coming around here, and possibly RFD around here, but that's not likely because I don't think that's likely. I'm unsure. This could be inflow. It may not. I'm not really sure. But you see this is bowing, like this line segment, this like curved line here, this boundary along the hill. See how thick it is along the front edge of it, um, and how thick it is, like how thick, not thick, but like intense it is on the back end, the front end, and then how there's a little bit of hail here. I'm expecting again strong gust fronts along this boundary here. Um, but let's look at the tornado situation for this. You can see here, here in particular, you see what looks like to be. It looks like it could be developing into a tornado. But if it is, it looks like it just passed through Dickens. This could also be from the strengthening rotation that has already passed through Dickens, but is strengthening after it passed through Dickens. Again, Dickens probably dodged a very big bullet here, but this looks like to be increasing tightening rotation. You see how it's getting really tight right there. And then another place that could be strong rotation. Earlier you saw right there, but there still could be strong rotation here, along here, but then also again right here. This looks like tornado-like velocity couplets. When there's usually a tornado on the ground, it looks like it's getting really tight up in there, and bringing, not bringing, but more like possibly going to produce, probably increasing and possibly intensifying to possibly produce a tornado. It looks like it's really trying to create tornado along what could be this boundary here. In here, that's what I'm seeing. That's where the strongest rotation was, up in there. And again, the tornado, if it produces a tornado, it's probably going to be likely, um, likely, likely, likely pretty rain wrapped. It's probably going to be pretty dangerous to chase because of it. I don't think there is really any chasers on this. I think they're all down. I think they're all down here on this one. But they could. Okay, no, they all went back up to Albany as this continues south. Probably because it became nighttime and very dangerous conditions to chase in, especially with cells like this and the potential for rain-wrapped tornadoes. You can see, like with the bow segment, or not bow segment, but the like bow shape that we saw with the earlier frames on the other storm. This bow segment, I'm expecting again. I'm still expecting strong gust fronts along this bow segment, and then the potential for some spin up as it curves outward on the end here, and then maybe, probably not though. It's very rare. Maybe anticyclonic rotation through here. Uh, I that's probably very far fetched. Uh, Most likely not. But there's that possibility. The air might be unstable enough to do that, but it's probably a very big stretch. But where we saw a lot of the big rotation, a lot of the tight rotation up in here, probably because of the bow shape curving back around up through here and rotating with the inflow jet, pushing this forward, and then also causing this to rotate as it goes up in here. And then the RF now probably developing RFD along the back edge of this as it starts to spin up, and then strong gust front, again strong gust fronts along a boundary of very large hail, very large hail. It expires in 8 minutes. Let's look at the velocity. Okay, you can see right here in the segment where the bow segment was curving up into what looked like a hook, and then plus the inflow curving up and curving up around up in there. Oh, it looks like it decreased a little bit, but still in here. The tight right here, and just overall tight all through up here, and overall rotation. Overall, it's pretty broad, but there are some segments where it's much tighter, especially where we saw in the like a frame ago how it was tighter in there. But it looks like it's loosening up a little more. And as for correlation coefficient, it still doesn't give an indication that there is a tornado on the ground, but there still is likely to be rotation with this line segment and the inflow here, and then strong gust fronts on the outflow boundary for this small little front here. Likely strong, again strong, very damaging winds along this gust front, and large hail to follow suit right after that. So yeah, it's crazy. Very strong, damaging winds along the gust front, and followed by very large hail, and then a potential spin up right here. It might be loosening up a little bit, but then also right here. What is that? Where is that? What is that mostly on? That's mostly right here. It looks like there might be a little bit of something developing right here, but because of how small it is, if anything develops in there, it might produce a tornado, because you saw how tight the velocity was. How much it's rotating, how tight the rotation is, plus how small the hook is. If it continues to develop outward, it could potentially bring a tornado, probably more likely than a larger hook over here, plus the very much tighter rotation. But then you can also see inflow jet here, and then looping around, not as intense the farther in it goes, but still looping around and causing rotation in through here. Then you also see it breaks away here and it brings more inflow here, creating a small hook here, that we could see a tornado possibly developing in there, in this area, possibly. still the only tornado warning. Let's check. Let's check back on this system down here. Okay. Looks like there is a very intense hail core here, and still a bow segment here. Still the potential for. Still looks like the potential for damaging winds along this gust front, just like we're seeing up north, and then possibly rotation developing and possibly a tornado to develop in these little pockets here, in these little areas of inflow here. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a puff of air. Like when you like take a puff of air. If you imagine a puff of air, how it expands outward the farther out it goes, and then around the edges towards the end it curves inward and rotates. That's what we're looking at here. Again, strong gust fronts probably in Coleman, probably strong damaging winds through Coleman, and along this gust front here, and large hail, very large hail, along 67, and then the potential for some spin up and possibly a tornado to develop in these inflow notches. All right, let's go back to our tornado warning. Uh, okay, it still has the gust front on it, even though it's not as prominent as it was earlier. And the hook looks like it is beginning to fall apart. Let's take a look at the velocities. There could still be some strong rotation up in here, and some strong rotation all through here, in some small pockets there. That is mostly where we're seeing the inflow here for this outflow, pushing all this hail along into a gust front, expanding outward. You see it mostly hooking up around here and spreading out, and potentially forming maybe some smaller tornadoes like we saw with the hook here earlier, and then also the bigger hook here. But as expected, I wasn't really expecting this tornado warning to last very long, and you can see much longer at least, and you see that it is now expired. But I am with that, I am most likely going to uh, end the live stream. Thank you to whoever that one concurrent viewer that is been sticking since what is it, like 10:35. Thank you. Um, Whoever you are, thank you for staying, and I will hopefully, maybe tomorrow, I will be back with another live stream as the severe weather potential increases around this area. I suggest watching the forecast that I made on it earlier today, and I will hopefully be back tomorrow. And this was amazing. I'm glad I got the live streaming to work, and uh, I'll just be back tomorrow, hopefully.